60 plus racing adventures. Oh, do we love it. It's a sim racing series for serious and seasoned drivers aged 60 or older. Our goal is to have first-rate competition with demonstration of car control mastery and mutual respect for others. We began this season number 9 all the way in Road America. We now take ourselves to the Southern Hemisphere as we welcome you to the Autodrome Jose Carlos Pace, also known as Interlagos. There's the track map on screen. It's in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and it hosts the 12th and final round for Season 9 of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. All coverage today on RaceSpotTV. Track details on screen, 4.22 kilometers, 2.622 miles in length, depending on your units of choice. It's an anti-clockwise layout, so different to what we see with most clockwise natured circuits around the world. 15 turns out in the racetrack, 10 of those to the left, the other 5 to the right. There'll be 2 laps, oh, 2 races indeed, of racing action here today, 18 laps each. And just waiting for the music to drop there at the perfect timing. So here we are today, and there are the championship standings. Steven Ruskin, we'll talk about that in just a few moments' time, can seal the championship today with a decent result. Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth alongside David Haynes here, Paul Smith behind the scenes in production. David, there are the championship standings on screen, and as we said, Ruskin just needs pretty much to finish on track right now to claim the championship in any of these 2 races today.
Yep, exactly. How it works for this one with the 2 races is that the points you take at the end of the round is whichever one was your best result. So some people might be used to drop rounds within a series. Well, this is drop races within a round. So all that Stefan Rostin needs to do is finish in 22nd place in one of the races. That'd garner him 3 points, which would make him the champion.
Let's have a look at your grid for race number 1 here from Interlagos. It'll be a rolling start here today, and Steven Karkner will start from the first position. He's followed by Stefan Ruskin, who we will keep an eye on. If he can keep it clean throughout these next 18 laps, will he be able to claim the championship? Manning Grinnan starts from 3rd alongside Mark Robinson on that for a 2nd row from the 4th position. The rest of the top 10 includes John Unsby, Donald Federer, Bruce Poole, Andrew Fiddler. Then we have Gerard Florison and Richard Colombe. The rest of the grid will be on screen. There are 28 drivers here today, of course. And David, starting from the back end of the order in a rolling start, is it better to have a rolling start if you're starting down the order, or would you rather a standing start?
I feel like a rolling start in these cars gives you a slightly lower chance of carnage through the first turns. I think if you were right at the back of a field, you'd rather the rolling start.
So the drivers take away here, or blast away, to begin the formation lap. This will begin on that straight, just leading up to Ferradura, which is turn 6 right now. Let's talk about this track, David. A couple of things to note here. Curb usage so important at Interlagos. I think that's something that's very important to be quick around here. What else do you need to be quick around this circuit?
Certainly a good feel on the brake pedal. There's a couple of heavy braking zones, but then also you've got to be good at rotating the car without spinning it, because there's a bunch of slow, sometimes off camber, sometimes undulating corners in the middle sector, and that's half of the character of this track. And then the other half is that long, fast blast out of the corner here, up the hill past the main straight, and then into turn 1.
This is one of my favorite racetracks of all time, Interlagos. I hope it never leaves the Formula 1 calendar. And we're racing open wheelers here, which makes this event even more spectacular for my liking. Thanks to all of you joining us on RaceSpotTV for the 3rd broadcasted race of the season for the 60 plus racing adventures. Who will win the championship? Will Ruskin be able to claim it under pressure? He's starting from 2nd. He doesn't have the cleanest of trucks up ahead. He's got to get past Stephen Kochner, who you can see is leading the field away. There's Ruskin on screen in the second position. Drivers form up. We go green from Interlagos for 18 laps of action.
Approaching turn 1, Kochner on the inside, Rostron on the outside, Manning Grinnan in third. That's the blue car, and he rides plenty of the curb. That's something you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Can he get away with it though here through turn 3? They do. Still alongside each other. Look at Manning Grunin trying to go around the outside of Steven Ruskin. Accident down the back of the pack as well. Oh, cars into the barriers, you can see, but that battle still continues between Ruskin and Grinnan. We'll keep one eye on that, one eye at the back of the pack as well with other spinners. But through the skid of Interlagos they go, and it looks like Ruskin maintains P2.
Yeah, indeed. Not the end of the race for those guys up the back. They do have a spare car to use, and the fixed setup restriction on the fuel that you start with means you can pit early in the race and still be able to make it to the end from there, not the end of the race from there.
So we'll have a look at that replay soon, hopefully, but here we go through the Bico de Pato, the duckbill corner as it's translated to, and through Yun Sao for the first time this afternoon. Kochner had a great getaway, didn't he, David? But look how Ruskin now, he's shrugged off the pressure from Manning Grinnan, and now he's got Kochner on the attack here as he maintains the slipstream on this main straight.
Yep, the slipstream, the draft, always really powerful in these cars, really important. Kochner needs to win this race to be the champion, but if Rostron finishes in 22nd or above, he will take the championship.
And Ruskin to the lead there with a poised maneuver heading into turn 1. It only took him 1 lap to head back into the lead. Kochner's got a chance to fight back here though on the Reto Aposta, the next main straight. Drivers starting to form up. Look at the beautiful sight back there. It's a lot more cleaner than it was on the first lap with all those accidents. We'll have a look at the replay though of lap 1 right now. There it is on screen. So here's the start of the race, David. Let's talk us through this, because here's where it starts to bottleneck through these first couple of corners. Through the center rest, Bob Kern is one of the drivers we're going to be looking at here. He's going to be involved in some terminal incidents.
Yeah, of course, some drivers riding a bit of the curb. It's a left and then a right and then a left. But what happens? The contact has already happened before Bob Kern, and he has nowhere to go. Loses control, unfortunately, makes contact with some others. Joel Martin, and also innocent victim in that.
And David Riley as well, suffering some damage. We're going to follow David Riley here. So he takes it easy, doesn't he, David Riley? He looks calm through the first couple of corners. Let's ride on board with him now. Martin's up ahead, so Martin's going to be involved in this. Now what happens? Oh, he's already passed a couple of stricken cars. Oh, goodness. He almost got away with it. He found a gap, didn't he? But he just spun the car on the exit. Not sure if he got hit, but certainly things went wrong as we now cycle back live. Ruskin looks to have made a mistake. Now we're going to have to look behind him because there's going to be a chance here for Kochner to reclaim the lead.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult for Rostron to shake Stephen Kochner. We've mentioned how powerful the slipstream can be. He has to defend into Desida Delago.
And no room for Stephen Kochner, your man who started this race from pole position here. Through Ferradura coming up here. The beautiful right-hander uphill. Throw the car into the corner. I think Kochner could have thrown it a little bit more, and he's gone deep under the brakes, so he's lost an immense amount of time there, and that just allows the driver of Ruskin to gain just a little bit more of a slight advantage. Manning Grinnan is in third, but let's look at this battle with Mark Robinson now. And Robertson has Federer behind, and Bruce Poole behind him. Just having a look there, because we had John Unsby and the rest of the field cycle through. But here's a train that goes from 4th to 8th, and these drivers are all tightly packed within 3/10 of one another.
Yep, exactly. And important to note, John Unsby is actually leading one of the subcategories, the Super 70s Championship. You can probably work out who that one's for. He's leading that, and he's doing a good job. Right where he is here would probably secure that class win for him as well.
Robertson around the outside. Oh, this is going to be a tough move. It reminds me of Verstappen and Ocon, doesn't it? And here they file through the
Cleaner
exit.
this time.
Exactly, a lot cleaner.
Oh, have I gone and jinxed it?
John Morgan behind, involved in an incident. So I think you might have jinxed it, actually, David. You owe John Morgan something. Let's have a look at the replay here. So he's in the slipstream. I'm just wondering, there's no one really close behind him. So did he pin this on his own? Let's have a look, though. Yeah, he did. Oh, his teammate bit it as well. So wait a second. I feel like they both spun, but Morgan ended up colliding into him. I might have seen that wrong, but definitely the teammates. That's the last thing they'd want right now as we go back live to racing action with Manning Grinnan. Manning Grinnan now, something's going wrong for Manning Grinnan, who was in the 3rd position. So this replay, David, for Manning Grinnan, he was in 3rd. He's going to scream up Ferradura. I'm just concerned that he might have binned it here because this is one of the most difficult corners in the world of motorsport.
Has he gone out too wide there? I'm not sure what we're going to see. He's just unfortunately disappeared to the Shadow Realm, which is a huge disappointment. He's running very, very well in the top 3. That elevates John Unsby into 3rd, and this is now the battle for the final spot on the podium. 2 wide, 2 corners in a row.
Have a look at Fitterer, though. Oh, he's on the grass, Fitterer. Oh, we didn't see that on screen. I was having a look at a second camera. But Fitterer was on the grass, and now he's going to lose the position to Bruce Poole. 3 wide action here heading into turn 4 in the braking zone. And Bruce Poole throws it deep on the brakes, and he's going to spin it all on his own. Does Bruce Poole? Oh, goodness. That battle was quite hair-raising.
Yeah, that went from 5 inseparable cars into a lot of action, and then one of the other drivers there also losing out, Andrew Fiddler. He was in 5th or 6th position, now finds himself back into 10th. These cars proving not especially easy to handle in these weather conditions. Track temperature 35.6 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, so that track temperature as well will make things ever more difficult for the drivers. 20 degrees ambient, so it's not even that hot out there in terms of ambient temperature. But that battle, goodness me, I thought that could have ended a lot worse. Only one driver was involved in the end, so they'll take that any day of the week. So quick update, we're on lap 5 of 18. And we're looking at the battle between Unsby and Robertson. Robertson's going to creep closer and closer, I'd presume. He may pop up sometime soon. There he is on screen right now as we look from the rear end of John Unsby. The two are so close right now. There's nothing separating both of them. Robertson goes through into the 3rd position. In front of them, Ruskin leads by 3 seconds out of Karkner. But Robertson, David, that was a great move, wasn't it? He just sliced it up the inside. They didn't collect each other. No contact between himself and Unsby. And that's what you'd like to see in terms of clean racing.
Yeah, decisive move, gets his car 1 car length ahead so that he can take that second apex, carry the momentum out through Curva de Sol, and that is a decisive move.
So just remember today as we cross, we're about to cross the 1/3 distance through this race, 1 pit stop is required by the drivers, so they'll have to take that sometime soon. And this pit entry as well, David, it's, well, I mean, does it need any explaining? High speeds, uphill braking zone, so easy to lock up and get a speed penalty for yourself.
Yeah, 72 km/h pit lane speed limit as well. It's one that you can gain a lot of time being aggressive with. Like you said, it's uphill as you're braking it. You can brake late, but the time you will lose with a speeding penalty if you cut it just too fine, well, that's a risk you might have to take, or you might want to avoid, as we have this great battle on board from Bruce Poole trying to hunt down Charles Gilly.
Look at Bruce Poole. Oh, this is such a slow battle because it's such a long straight, but he's still alongside Charles Gilly. And that 066 car still alongside each other heading into the braking zone. Going for the switchback is Bruce Poole, but shutting the door is Gilly. And no room through for Bruce Poole. This is your battle for P6 out there on the racetrack. They are 8 seconds behind your top 5 group. This is essentially the peloton, I'd guess, David. And once you lose the slipstream, as Bruce Poole here looks for a move on the inside, plenty of room given between the two, and Poole now through to P6. When you lose the slipstream of the Pro Mazdas, it's much like the Skip Barbers. You know, you can really break into your own pack.
Yeah, precisely. Peloton is a word I've definitely used to describe the packs that form in these kind of cars that are so prone to the slipstreams. And one of the things that can be of an advantage is if you're following along behind another car, as we're seeing, Isaacs was a part of that group and we lost him. So here's your replay of what happened there.
So Steve Isaacs, yep, there's the replay on screen. And he's slowing down here. Oh, goodness. Oh, wow. So he's definitely he's tried to pull over with some form of technical issue and almost collected a driver coming past as well. Couldn't quite see who that driver was. So Steve Isaacs still, well, he's out of the race right now until he can sort out his technical issues. Still have, despite all the incidents, I know every driver's allowed a fast repair, but still have 25 cars active in this race so far. So plenty going on right now. Gilly now passed once again by Fiddler, and Charles Gilly demoted to the 8th position. Another battle taking place as well between Baldwin and De Pasqua for P10. De Pasqua as well being passed by Baldwin. There they are on screen through the center S through lap 8 of 18 in this event. Jack Turner takes to the pit lane. He's one of the first drivers to take to the pit. So nobody in your top 13 so far have made a pit stop. And Turner is one of those drivers to elect for it early. So maybe going for it early can clear the traffic up ahead.
Could do. The point I was going to make before we had that problem for Steve Isaacs earlier is that being in the slipstream can save you a lot of fuel in these cars, can cut down your pit stop time. So pitting later, you might have a better idea of where your consumption is at. But if you're in a battle that's costing you time, pitting earlier could be the sensible decision.
What I used to do when I raced was I'd have fuel reference points. So let's say it's a 60-lap race. About every 3 laps, I'd have the amount of liters I needed to make the end of the race. As we look at a battle here for P5, and this is between Unsby and Fitterer. Well, not a battle for P5, actually. It's the battle for your final podium position. These 3, Robertson, Unsby, and Fitterer are in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But it's a good thing to do, David, because you're pre-prepared. You know how much fuel you need. You don't need to be driving with one hand and a calculator in your other.
Yeah, precisely that. So Robertson leads this pack in 3rd. Unsby's closest he's ever been. There's a lap down car there. Manning Grinnan stays well out of the way of these guys. Manning Grinnan's experienced in this series. He's a very polite racer and demonstrating it right there. But John Unsby's not going to be too polite to Mark Robertson. He wants to get past.
So Gilly's had a spin and he's fallen down the order as well. Here's the replay on screen. Here's Gilly through the Disquita de Lago. What's gone wrong for Gilly? Oh, he's lost it all on his own there. And we've seen that happen a lot today, David. So what's wrong there? The drivers seem to be losing the rear end.
Well, certainly at about the point you turn into the corner, that's where the lake descent, as it is in Portuguese, sort of begins, that the camber sort of drops away there. So it definitely can help rotate the car more than you're expecting. And here comes the slipstream from Donald Fitterer in 5th place, looking at John Unsby, who's looking at Mark Robertson. You see how much speed that slipstream gives you.
Oh, they collide in the braking zone and Fitterer's off the racetrack. Oh, goodness me, bouncing over the grass he goes. Don't want to spin it here, rejoining the racetrack. You want to rejoin safely. But in the braking zone, Fitterer, I'm not sure if he let go of the brake pedal or not, but we'll have a look at it here. He was just so close behind Robertson. Oh, he just lost his marker. It's so difficult to see your marker, isn't it? Because you've got a face full of a Pro Mazda up ahead of you.
Yeah, big rear wing on the cars in front of you. And here's Unsby and Robertson. So despite having lost Fitterer, this battle for 3rd continues. Very, very easy in just about any car, though, if you're following right underneath the car in front, to lose your reference points for your braking, your turn in, and all of that.
And the 3rd driver in this group is Manning Grinnan, and he is not on the lead lap. He's currently P27 out of P28. He was in P3, so I know he's quite a respectful man, is Manning Grennan, but at the same time, you'll definitely feel a little bit of salt that this battle is not for position. Look how close the two are up ahead. Robertson already trying to slice up the inside of the 61 of Unsby. He's already passed here. We're not even halfway through the main straight, close to the pit exit. Well, Robertson heads to the pits, and that's why he was in such an urgent manner. And now hits the brake markers perfectly. I don't think Robertson, from our view, sped. So a good pit stop so far from Mark Robertson. Let's follow this for now and see where he feeds out.
And of course, these cars equipped with a pit lane speed limit. As long as you get down to the speed and engage that, you're not going to be in any problems. Just fuel, not looking like any tires here. We're at lap 11 of 18, just 8 to go, so probably a pretty quick splash. And you see the time there, 8.6 seconds stationary. That's about typical.
Sorry, so how much time are you saving without tires? Well, without taking them?
I don't know, but I believe in some of these lower level open wheel cars, they sort of jack up the front, change the front two, and then jack up the rear and change the rear ones. Not like the Formula 3 car, they all change it once quicker. It's sort of, I think, closer to the Skip Barber.
Yeah, so then there's definitely a lot of time, definitely 5 or 10 seconds to save there. Whether or not the tires have been taken care of by Robertson, we'll find out. The man from Florida has a driver up ahead who's spun and makes his way past. Might have been a lap car up there. There we are on screen. Who's that? That's Colombe, the number 20. He's in P12, the number 68 car. So Richard Colombo's had a good race, but he's spun just ahead of Robertson. Now, Robertson's the only driver in your top 12, David, to make a pit stop. Karkner now enters the pit lane and from P2. So we'll see if Karkner, well, I don't think his race will be affected. I think he's had P2 all cemented to himself.
Yeah, exactly. Watching that replay there, Ferradura just losing the rear of the car early on turn in. Maybe just a bit too aggressive in the weight transfer or the rotation. And there goes what was your second place man, Stephen Karkner, still mathematically in the title hopes, but at this stage, really he's going to need a double retirement in this round from Stefan Rostgen to be able to seal it up, but still, in theory, in the hunt.
So here he is on the Reto Aposta, now through the Desquita del Lago. I love this racetrack. It's so gorgeous. It's, you know what I love and what I miss, David, is racetracks with undulation like this, because this was created back in the day, obviously, but now all the modern day racetracks, you know, everything's so artificial, you know. This is so natural here at Interlagos, even if it's shorter than what the original layout once was.
Yeah, watching our leader. Is he going to come to the pit lane this time? No, Stefan Rostgen stays out. I'm with you. There's something to the natural undulations that slightly moves where the racing line would be if this track was completely flat. Provides just a little bit of a challenge.
Following the number 4 here, that's Kenneth Baldwin. For P13, he's got Charles Gilly up ahead from the Midwest. That's probably the greatest club you could be a part of, just in terms of the name, apart from Australia, New Zealand, of course, David Wink. By the way, what
exactly,
are we doing?
Great part of the world.
Exactly, we love it. But what are we doing up at 6:30 in the morning here, commentating this race? 2 Australians. What are we doing?
I haven't got that daylight saving, so -1 hour for me. Well, it's for the love of the game, you know. And I mean that in a sports ball-y kind of way. That I think both of us have a lot of passion for sim racing, and this is not professional level sim racing, but a great lot of fun and pretty good racing that we're seeing. Look at this slipstream. This is going to be a change for 12th place potentially. Baldwin goes to the inside of Gilly into turn 1. I think that's job done there, unless Gilly can cross him back. Not this time.
Good move by Baldwin. I think he's going to be able to maintain P12 here. He's got a country mile of an advantage, it looks like. It feels that way, doesn't it? I don't think Gilly's going to be able to claim that position pass here. Right there, he's a bit too far behind. Leader pits, and that's Stefan Rostgen, who now enters the pit lane. Hopefully nothing wrong for him this time round. It's going to have to be a quick stop. He has an advantage over Stephen Karkner, but it's you know, anything goes wrong in this pit stop, like a penalty or one or the other, Roskin can easily lose this lead.
Yeah, Karkner was stationary for 8.6, remember. How long does Roskin hold in the box for? 8.3, so on that measure, he's not going to lose out to the lead. And talking about the clubs, there's a lot of a very even mixture in this series between European drivers and American drivers, which you wouldn't get in a weeknight league in many other leagues, because this is, while it's in the evening in the UK, it's in a weekday afternoon in the US, and turns out there's a lot of 60 plus people who can find some time in their weekday afternoon to get in a sim racing league. So it's a great cultural mix for a weekday league.
See a battle on screen. There's no Australians racing, David? No, I'm joking. It's 6:30 in the morning, guys. John Morgan now makes his way past. Oh, is that Pareto? No, it's Gilly going off again. Gilly's been... He hasn't had the best of races, David, so far. So it's definitely not finding his rhythm at this stage of the event. And Gilly now trying to rejoin the racetrack. He's got Pareto, who's just exited the pit lane ahead of him. Gilly in the braking zone. Well, I think he just needs to find his rhythm more than he needs to battle right now. Drivers in the lead. John Unsby will finally enter the pit lane with 5 to go. He's followed by the driver. Is that Manning Grinnan still a lap down? It is. So yep. Manning Grinnan, a lap down, has to make his pit stop.
Manning Grinnan, in fact, 2 laps down on the leader because of some unfortunate tech issues. No mistake of his own that we saw. Just unfortunately to that, losing 2 laps. But he'll persevere, and the great thing about this, he'll get another shot in the next race. And if he puts together a good race there, then that'll be the race that counts to his season end points. 8.6 seconds stationary for John Unsby. That's about what we're seeing for fuel from everyone.
Unsby out in the race. He's out in 5th, so he's lost a couple of positions, though, in that battle for P3, and he's lost a lot of time with a late pit stop. So whether or not Unsby can make this up is another question, but he doesn't have much to go. He's got 4 laps to go. There are your movers and shakers throughout the field on screen. Look at Paolo Pareto, who we were talking about before, who just exited the pit lane, up 13 positions into 9th, and it hasn't even been a race of attrition.
Yeah, Club Brazil driver, you could speculate about a home ground advantage for him.
Yeah, at a virtual racetrack, but I think as well, I always say, even if it's virtual, you do end up practicing at your home tracks more than you do other tracks. So technically, a home track advantage still counts in esports, even though there's no crowd and more press conferences to take and all this kind of stuff. 4 to go here. And who are we riding on board with? Charles Gilly again. Charles Gilly, who's hopefully found his rhythm, heads through Ferradoy here in turn 6. So the overtaking spots, because we'll look out for it in race 2 later on, David. This is race 1 of 2 so far. Obviously, the center S is 1, and then turn 4 heading for the Interlagos. There really isn't anywhere else on this racetrack to pull off a move.
Well, where we are right now, it's presumably flat on the throttle through here. If you were really close, you could probably go for a move into Yunsao, but you know, you just get past again on the way up the hill, and wide goes Paulo Pareto. Poor run off the corner. Charles Gilly will stick his nose to the inside, and this will probably be flat out side by side all the way to the center S.
Pareto's been on an uphill rise this event. Doesn't want to lose another spot. Started in P22, did Pareto. He's still alongside Gilly here in this battle for P13. And hopefully lucky 13 for Gilly as he finds his way through. Just quite an uneventful battle there. But the exit here, Pareto looks quick. Now we're riding on board with Donald Federer in this scrap for the 3rd position. Up the inside goes Federer. He's found a gap. There's another overtaking spot we didn't think about, David.
Yeah, you asked it, and now they're turning it on to deliver. And then when they cross the line, next will be 2 laps to go. Standing on the podium, getting an interview here on RaceSpot. That's something I'm sure they're thinking of. Donald Federer is through, but then, like I said, this is now the biggest slipstream on the circuit. Mark Robertson will come back at him.
Robertson searching, looking for a move. Creeps closer and closer. Elects for the outside line, heading into the braking zone as well. Robertson confident with the left foot as well. all the way around the outside goes Robertson, but too respectful, isn't he, with the space allowed to Federer. I think he could have just forced him off a little bit more and tried to pull off the move, but I guess they don't want to win their race with 2 to go. Robertson almost had the move done on the apex, but it's that second apex of the center S that really cost him.
Yep, indeed. Now they're going to come back up the hill towards Ferradura. 2 laps to go, really 1.5 now. This is a great angle backwards through the rear wing, through the suspension. And we see what Mark Robertson is doing, where he's quick, where he closes in, where he runs out a little wide, where he loses the speed. Definitely drivers quicker through different corners, and that makes it exciting to watch.
Here's where he made the move last lap, but not even close this time around. Look at the wide line from Federer. Beautiful line from Donald. He knows that Robertson's going to have a slipstream all the way through the main straight. We lost Robertson for a second, but there he is on screen once again. And Robertson now has a shot here as the leaders will cross the line for the final lap. So Ruskin receives the white flag, but the battle for your final podium position continues. Here's Mark Robertson. Can he make the move into P3 into the center S?
Federer's going to try and defend the inside. It works for now, unless he's going to get crossed back, unless it's going to happen into turn 4. Very well could. This is one of the last real opportunities, unless he's going to get a fantastic run out of the final corner to the line.
Up the inside is Robertson. This should be an easy move. Screams into the braking zone. Don't lose it here. We've seen a lot of drivers lose the rear end heading into turn 4. Brilliant move from Mark Robertson. Federer searching for the switchback here. Heading into Ferradura turn 6. Oh, it's so quick through here. 170 kilometers an hour. Still alongside each other heading into turn 8. Oh, goodness. Still side by side heading into turn 9 here. And finally, one of these drivers will have to end out on top. Federer is going to have the inside line heading into the duckbill corner. Leader, though, is Steven Ruskin. We'll keep an eye on that battle, which still continues. They're still alongside each other, by the way, as Steven Ruskin with P1 will be champion for Season 9 of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. What a brilliant championship it's been for Steven Ruskin. Congratulations to him. The battle continues for the 3rd position still as Federer now around the outside. It's going to be a drag race all the way to the start finish line. Here they are alongside each other. Creeping in is Federer, but at the finish line, it looks like... I'm confused there. I think Mark Robertson's going to claim it by 2/100ths of a second. Oh, David, what a finish there. But first of all, congratulations to Steven Ruskin.
Yep, all he needed to do in this race was finish on the lead lap to seal it up. We've got another drag race to the line. I told you that's how these cars work. Who has got this battle? Jack Turner on our screen there coming across in front of Keith Baldwin. I'm having a look on my timing screen to see who got to the line there first, but I said out of the final corner, if you get a great run, you can overtake them before the line. We've seen 2 drag races to that stripe.
So don't get confused by the standings on the left-hand side of the screen. Robertson's in P3, Federer's in P4, so it's the other way around. But let's have a look at your final race results for race number 1 of 2 this afternoon. Steven Ruskin, your champion for Season 9, already with 1 race to go, comes home in the 1st position. There they are on screen once again. Stephen Karkner started the race from pole, but lost 12 seconds of an advantage and comes home still on the podium, though. It's a decent result for Karkner. Robertson in that drag race to the finish line. There are the correct results. Robertson ahead of Federer by 2/100ths of a second. Federer just needed about an extra 100 meters and he might have gotten past Mark Robertson. Unsby rounds out the top 5. The rest of the top 10 are there on screen. We'll cycle through the order. The drivers for the likes of Charles Gilly ended up in 13th. Paulo Preto, still a good event so far, up 8 positions and finished on the lead lap. The driver from Brazil at his virtual home track. Richard Ross ended up coming home in 19th, just ahead of Mark Leeson from New England. So we had pretty much 27 drivers finish the race. We saw Manning Grinnan with a technical issue, unfortunately lost a couple of laps to the leaders. Lewis Samorga, the only driver to not finish this event after collisions at lap 1, heading out through the exit of turn 3. But what an event, David. Just to sum up, before we go to interviews, Steven Ruskin champion, but that battle to the finish line there, I've run out of breath still. I still feel like I'm calling it here 2 minutes down the track.
Yeah, exactly. The first one got us hyped, and then we had another run to the line behind there. Up the hill, and these cars, it's absolutely the last overtaking opportunity on the lap. And as I was saying, Stefan Rostjan, all he needed to do was finish on the lead lap, basically, to seal up the championship. He had nearly a whole race win worth of points lead. Just needed to seal it up with that. But we've got some interviews from our top 3 now.
So Stephen Karkner, who came home in the 2nd position, we're going to speak to Steve. Are you there, Steve?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, bright and well. Congratulations on P2. Probably not the result you wanted, considering you started on pole, but I mean, Steven Ruskin with a championship, he's just, well, he's another driver in itself, isn't he?
He was lapping at probably 7/10 of a lap quicker than I was, so it's really hard to catch him. He's a tremendous driver.
So talk about your race, though. Was it quite lonely out there? Or were you looking at the timing screens most of the time, just trying to reel in Stephen, or was that just, or not Stephen, Stefan, or was that just a challenge you thought wasn't possible?
Once he took off from me there, I was watching the people behind me, Mark and Donald and everybody else, to see if they were catching me or not. And then I just maintained a 132 average, I guess.
And you're in a battle for P2 in this championship, so you sort of, you've got that all sealed anyway. Does it really matter now that the championship's over with P1 for Ruskin, that you're just going to go out there and race 2 and have a bit more fun?
Yeah, the next race is going to be a lot more fun because I can't catch Stefan now. So I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll start farther back in the pack.
So there's Stephen Karkner, who came home in the 2nd position. Hopefully we speak to him at the end of race 2 as well. Another driver is Mark Robertson, who came home in 3rd, who is alongside David Haynes.
Well, last spot on the podium is still on the podium, and up 1 spot from where you qualified there, Mark. A real drag race out of the final corner to the line on the last lap too.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you didn't have a camera on me. I was rocking the seat trying to get a little more speed out of my Mazda coming up to the start finish, trying to hold Donald off. But what a last lap that was.
0.02 of a second was your margin. Well done on that. Do you think you can go better in race 2, or is that about what you've got in this field?
That's about it, I think. That if I would try to do any more than that, I would probably surely spin. But it was a great race. I had an early battle with Mr. John Unsby, and that got a little intense. I decided to take a pit stop to get out of that pressure cooker.
And around here, what are you thinking about for the pit stop for the fuel consumption? About how much fuel do you feel like you need to add to get to the end?
Well, we just need just under 4 gallons, so I take a gallon on my pit stop, so that'll get us through.
And is that what you're going to do for race 2, or you're going to try and cut it a little bit finer?
No, I'm going to go. I don't want to run out of fuel. It's a lot worse to run out of fuel than it is to just take a little extra.
Alright, thanks so much. Congratulations on that 3rd. Go well in race 2, and maybe we'll see you after that one as well.
Hope so. Gonna try. Thanks, guys.
So there was Mark Robertson, who came home in that final podium position. Your series champion isn't here to speak to, so we will not have a chance to speak to Stefan Ruskin. But John Unsby is here. John, are you there? You available? Might not be.
Yeah.
Oh, he
can
is.
you hear me?
No, we hear you. You had a nice little battle there for P3. You came home in 5th in the end. Probably not what you wanted, but it was a quite entertaining battle from our perspective in the commentary booth.
Yeah, Mark and I were almost identical speeds. So was Donald until the end. And I'm kind of disappointed. I don't know. I thought I got in and out of the pits really well, but the other guys got better, and I guess my invisible pit crew was sleeping or something, so I lost 2 positions in the pits, and I was pretty close at the end, but it was a good race. I didn't get wrecked this time, which is the first time in a while.
But we can confirm, though, with that result, that you are Super 70s champion. So congratulations on that. It's been a good season for you for Season 9.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I think it was because that new guy, Coppage, didn't show up. The one thing I'm proud of is that I'm the only one in the race I see here from the results that had 0 incidents. So that's always good.
So race 2 coming up. Any difference in strategy as well? You talked about the pit stop phase not working out for you. So you're going to adjust the strategy to see if it can pay off for you in this next event?
Well, I wish I could say yes, but I don't know what to do. I came in really hot. I just barely made it down to the speed limit. There was no loss there. And I don't know how they gained a couple seconds on me. It's really a mystery. But I'm only as fast as I am, which looks like I'm about 5th. So it'll require some misfortune for the guys ahead, I guess.
Possibly. I'm just trying to think. Maybe the slipstream. Maybe you lost that and they had some sort of advantage. We'll see, though. I'll look through the replays anyway, because that's quite an interesting conundrum. But thanks, John. We'll hopefully speak to you at the end of race 2 as well. So that is it, David. And interesting that John mentioned that he just doesn't know what went wrong through the pit stop phase. And I'm just trying to think, like I said, did he maybe lose the slipstream advantage or something before we head to the ad break?
It baffled me as well, if I'm honest with you. We didn't see any problems for him. It might have just been, lose half a second here on the in-lap, lose half a second there on the out-lap, and those are, of course, the critical laps in any race with a pit stop.
So we will take a break here. Don't leave us, though. Race 2 is coming up shortly from 60 Plus Racing Adventures. It's the season finale, Week 12, Season 9. We'll see you shortly.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
Gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Lee to the inside goes Logan Clapman is gonna touch in. Pit press.
saved it.
What a save!
Look to the outside as Drunke goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried this contact though. Wide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe. Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
$1,500 richer. Two-time NASCAR pilot is your 2013 NASCAR iRacing. It's going to be Humpy winning the race, and it's going to be Conti taking away his first NASCAR 2017 NASCAR Beginner-Free Series Championship to Ryan Loser. Fella is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Beginner-Free iRacing Series.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
get them all done with. What amazing.
Lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press.
saved it.
What a save.
Look to the outside as Kroenke goes off. De Jong into second place.
I'm going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
Wide left of the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
Gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
To the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press.
saved it.
What a save!
Look to the outside as Tronke goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game.
Welcome back. It's time for race 2 of 60 plus racing adventures, the season finale, the final race for season 9, week 12. David Haynes alongside me, Jonathan Simon here in the commentary booth, Paul Smith behind the scenes in production. There are the track details on screen. So David, we saw last race, the pit stops were a huge factor in terms of spreading out the field. It really brought up quite a conundrum for the likes of John Unsby, who couldn't figure out what went wrong for him in terms of strategy for that race. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on for this event here in race 2.
Yep, exactly. Same distance, same fuel restriction as race 1. So 18 laps, and the drivers needing about 12 litres, but needing 16, starting with 12. So can go about 3/4 of the way into the race before they have to pit, but they can pit early and make it to the end from there if they want to mix up the strategy. Now we saw that didn't really play out for John Unsby, but it played out well for our winner Stefan Rostjan.
Exactly, and Stefan Rostjan, who we can confirm as champion as well, and Rostjan has had a brilliant season so far. We are currently in qualifying with 5 minutes remaining. Now, don't forget, drivers are only allowed 2 laps to set a competitive time here. Bob Kearns come across the line, and he comes home in P14. We are looking at the driver of Donald Fitterer, who's currently in P2. Andrew Fiddler, though, climbs to the top of the timing screens with a 1 minute 29.7. Brilliant time.
Yep, indeed. You see those margins in the column on the left. We're riding on board with PJ Sally. Doesn't have a time on the board yet. Still plenty of time left in the session to do so. Just remembering that any off-track on this lap would invalidate it. So doing all possible, stay within the track limits, including the exit of Desquita de Lago. That's one point where you can run out a little bit wide in race conditions and get away with it, but in qualifying, that'll be an off-track. That will be your lap scrubbed.
So we're still riding on board with PJ Sally here, heading through the middle sector at Interlagos. You can see how quick he's going here. 100 miles an hour heading into the braking zone of the Duckbill corner. Bites at the apex just a couple of times. Now, David, he heads through Yunsao. This is such a difficult braking zone to get, and he's taken such an awkward line through there, and he's missed the apex. That's certainly going to cost him a few tenths.
Yeah, this run up the hill, so critical to get your momentum out of there, because not only is it the longest straight of the circuit, but because it's uphill, every bit of momentum that you lose costs double. But he's going to come to the line here. This has all been clean, what we've seen. Let's see, that's a 1 minute 31.424. Not going to challenge the top 15, I don't think, PJ Sally, but it's good enough for around about 24th a time like that.
Yeah, so PJ Sally, well, we were following him. Now we're following, can't see who that is. That's Remigio de Pasqua, and he's currently in P11, the number 4 driver. Out through the exit is Remigio for Team Italian Turtles. Quite some quick sector times. He's got a 1 minute 29.7 a beat. His current lap times are 30.652, as you can see on screen. Does De Pasco improve here as he comes across the line? Nope. No improvement. A 30.677, and that is De Pasco's day done, and has a spin at the center S as well. Can't see any other drivers out there on the racetrack apart from Manning Grinnan. His day is done. Fred McIntosh, though, is one driver still left in qualifying here, David. 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Let's see if you can get this lap time in for Team Rusty Nut.
I think when we switched to Fred, he was leaving the pit lane, I do think. So maybe just taking the extra time to get acquainted with the track. Conditions might have changed a little bit from race 1. I'm actually seeing cooler ambient temperatures, but a slightly warmer track. Not by a whole lot of difference, but of course, the dynamic weather that we've got in iRacing now, it means that there's sky conditions where the clouds are doing, what the track temperature is, can all swing pretty quickly, and that can change how the car handles and where you can carry speed.
Yeah, and apologies, Fred McIntosh has set 2 lap times, so he can't obviously set any other time, so that's my mistake. But he's out there on the racetrack, as you said, David, just getting acquainted. And that's the importance of a warm-up session, isn't it? Which we don't have today. It's just, I really love as the Team Rusty Nut car pulls into the pit lane. It's I really love the warm-up sessions because you really get to put race fuel in, get to drive the car, build a rhythm. Some drivers like to push the limit in warm-up. I just love to get the muscle memory in and not look at lap times at all. I just love to get into a rhythm.
Yeah, it can be good to just get yourself in your zone. That's got one car still out there. Who's that? I should know.
PJ
I should
Sally,
recognize it. PJ Sally, yes. Still no time on the board for him. I'm seeing as 2 laps counted though, so this might still just again be that warm-up with 1 minute left in the session.
Yeah, so PJ Sally just getting in some late lap times. So for this event here at Interlagos, we talked about overtaking spots, didn't we, David? Turn 1 at the center S is probably your best option, and possibly a fight back heading into the Skidder de Lago at turn 4. But hey, we saw passes heading into the Bico de Pato at turn 11. Ferradura, we saw a couple of battles. 2 drivers alongside each other for P3 at the end of the race there with through turn 9. Plenty of overtaking spots. Yun Sao is like, I agree with you last race. It's a potential overtaking spot, but don't know if it's possible in these Pro Mazdas. Maybe these drivers will have to show us here on the first few laps.
I think it's possible, but if you do it, if you make a move there, you're ripe to get immediately passed back up the front stretch.
So let's have a look at your grid for race 2 here. The final race for season 9 of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Andrew Fiddler will start from pole position with a 1 minute 29.800. He'll be alongside John Unsby in the rolling start. Fitterer and Grinnan will start 3rd and 4th. Hopefully Grinnan doesn't have any technical issues this time around because he has outstanding pace. Karkno, who had pole position for race 1 last time out, will start no greater than the 5th position. Turner in 6th. Robertson from the podium will start from 7th, just ahead of John Morgan. So qualifying times not representative from race 1. These drivers have started to shuffle themselves around a little bit. There is your series champion of Stefan Ruskin starting from 12th, 7/10 behind your pole position sitter. Gilly will end up starting from 14th, just ahead of Bruce Poole, who rounds out the top 15. The rest of the grid will cycle through on screen. It includes the likes of David Riley and Steve Isaac starting behind each other in 18th and 20th. Paolo Preto starts from 22nd again for the 2nd consecutive race. Will he be able to climb 8 spots back in a P14 like he did last time out? So David, rolling start once again. And last time out, we saw an incident heading into turn 3. Let's hope that doesn't happen this time around. Any tips for these drivers to avoid incidents?
Stay in your lane, hold your line when you're too wide, and maybe, just maybe, there is such a thing as being too cautious. When we got to look at the replay, there were plenty of drivers who were, if anything, maybe just unpredictably slow off the racing line, on the racing line. It's the first lap of the race, nothing too crazy, but it is the first lap of the race, and it is a race.
And the first lap of every race is ambiguous, isn't it? It's hard to tell what's going to happen heading into not just the first lap, but in the early laps. So this race will be 18 laps in length, the same as race 1, of course. 1 pit stop is required. David, I love to see strategy just come into play. How about somebody makes an early pit stop? If you're in the back end of the order, clear the traffic, make an early pit stop, drive 15 laps on your own. Who knows how many positions you can make up? It's just a lot less fun.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of series with mandatory pit stops in sort of sprint races. We're used to seeing that because there's a fuel tank restriction, but in this series, it's actually from the fixed setup. It starts off with about 3/4 of the fuel you need to make the race distance. So you could pit on the first lap or the second lap and be able to fit in the fuel to get to the end if you decided that's what you wanted to do.
100%. We'll see how these drivers handle it. Fiddler will start from pole. The field will scream away as soon as that pace car pulls in, and Fiddler floors it in the Pro Mazda. Unsby alongside him. John Unsby came home in the 5th position last race. Will he be able to claim a race victory this time out? Federer will start from 3rd alongside Manning Grinnan. Ready to go racing for race 2. We go green from Interlagos.
Fanning out all behind, but Fiddler holds the lead. Donald Federer from the 2nd row, though, is going to get ahead of John Unsby. Unsby gets shuffled back to 3rd, or does he? He's going to try and hang it around the outside of the first apex. All clean there at front. We look further back. Looks clean here as well so far.
Brennan's dropped down a position into 5th as well as Karkner promotes himself into the 4th position. Karkner trying to fight back for a race victory that he lost in that first event. Steven Ruskin is only in 13th, so he's lost a position at the start here, and he's almost off the racetrack there at the Skidder del Lago. There he appears on screen here through the exit. Your series champion not having the best of getaways.
Yeah, but he's got nothing to prove in this race. He won race 1. He can't improve on that in race 2. All he can do is be out there and maybe take points away from other drivers. He's just here for the love of the racing.
So there he is on screen, and he's just starting to form up here with the rest of the drivers in the midfield. But back to your leaders. Federer, is he close behind to Fiddler here at the end of the first lap? As Fiddler overcooked it into Yun Sao, spot on is the driver of Andrew Fiddler, but Federer's got all the momentum here as we ride on board from the team Old Speed car. Looking, searching for a move, possibly into that center S. He starts to limit here. He's losing a bit of top speed, so I think he wants to make the move possibly into turn 4.
Yeah, potentially breathing out of the throttle a little bit, but very clean lines. Doesn't get too much of the curb on the exit of turn 2. He's still right there with our leader, Andrew Fiddler.
Stefan Roosjan is into the pit lane as he had damage, or as he had a false start or some other form of penalty. So for Roosjan, it's taken a turn for the worse. Jack Turner also took to the pit lane as well. Mark Leeson, or is it an early pit stop possibly here, David, for Stefan Roosjan?
I'm seeing 8.7 seconds stationary on the lane. That's how much fuel he needs. I said you can come in on lap 1, fill the car, and get to the end. And that looks like what Stefan Roosjan might have decided to have done. Just get himself out of that race. He's got nothing to prove, nothing to win from this. Maybe he's just going to have a bit of fun.
Well, we talked about it, didn't we? You know, if you're in the midfield, just making that early pit stop to clear the traffic. Roosjan looks like he is definitely doing that. Here is your lead battle between Fiddler and Federer. Look at the line that Fiddler takes heading into Yun Sao. It's quite uncanny. Such a tight entry. Federer, though, in the exit's going to have a great run, and that's what could cost Andrew Fiddler an advantage of staying into P1.
These two fight hard. John Unsby in the yellow car is right there behind. So Steve Karkner, so's Manning Grinnan in the deep blue navy car, looking to improve on some positions, but they're going to go side by side for the lead. And Donald Federer is trying to go round the outside of turn 1, and he does it.
Whoa, how close is it? Look at Unsby and Karkner as well. That's too close for comfort. Karkner, how did he find his way through? He sliced his way through like a ninja. And Karkner now into 3rd position. And double file.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, potentially.
No, there's contact though. Certainly Jiu-Jitsu there. And Grinnan also almost finds himself off the racetrack. So just in the braking zone, it looks like somebody overcooked it. Karkner has terminal rear wing damage. Let's have a look at the replay here, David.
Yeah, so Karkner ahead, Grinnan to the inside. That looks like John Unsby's just become unsighted, gotten in a little bit too deep, and made a nose to rear wing contact with Karkner there. What he can do now, though, is he come into the pits on this lap, as some of the cars ahead of him are off the circuit as well. He could come into the pits this lap, get it fixed, take his fuel. Exactly. It's not the end of his race just yet.
Yeah, exactly. So we're thinking along the same lines. Go into the pits now and just refresh yourself. Repair that damaged rear wing. You have the fast repair, and it could come into play. Manning Grinnan lost a lot of time as well. I'm not sure if Manning had any damage, though. And you know who this helps, David? Stefan Ruskin, who took to the pit lane and is lapping away quite quickly at the moment. We'll keep an eye on Ruskin's lap times, because this would be a remarkable victory if he could pull it off. It's going to be quite optimistic, though, as Grinnan heads into the braking zone for Team Old Speed. Floors it
Karkner
out of the
takes
center S.
Our advice. Yep. Stephen Karkner indeed coming into the pit lane to get that rear wing fixed. Makes sense. It's going to kill him in a straight line. And Grinnan is looking for another position on Remigio de Pasqua. Not going to do it into turn 4. Probably sensible with how the closing speeds were. Bob Cohen has found himself up in 5th position by dodging bullets, and now they're going to go side by side to Ferradura.
Oh, go for it, Manning. Come on. Send it up the inside of the outside. I want to see a move into Ferradura. Look how defensive De Pasqua goes. He knows that Grinnan's on the attack. And, wow, this is a thrilling battle so far. Grinnan looking for the outside, but De Pasqua defends. So Grinnan trying to open up the line here now through turn 11, the Bico de Pato. Through the exit, heading into 12 on the run to Yun Sao. So easy to lose the car through here. Full throttle into the braking zone goes Grinnan. Creeps up closer and closer to the rear end. And now, look at the advantage Manning Grinnan has.
Yep, getting excellent use of that slipstream, helping him in a straight line, but now he has to pull out of it. He's not closing quite as much, and in fact his competitor has the advantage of getting in the slipstream of the 32 car in front, Bob Cohen.
Look how close they are. Grinnan needs to, he's got just, I don't know if that was dirty air, a bit of understeer, but through the apex there of the center S, it's definitely cost him. Grinnan on the attack here, heading into turn 4. How close was it, David, heading into Ferradura? We wanted to see a move, didn't we?
Yeah, there's a few drivers without anything to prove in this race who are just out there for some fun, but Manning Grinnan, poor result in race 1. He needs the result here in race 2. He, unfortunately, can't afford to do any of the silly stuff.
Grinnan up the inside into turn 8. Oh, that was close. Had a look, but no way through. We're looking at your lead battle right now between Fitterer and Fiddler. So Fiddler now into P2, Unsby in the 3rd position. Now they're starting to form up. Ruskin's last lap time, though, was a 29.9. That is a long par with your leaders. And now Unsby finds himself in a P4. I think he just allowed Robertson through.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one, but certainly lots of strategy still to be played out.
Manning Grinnan alongside the Pasqua yet again. This is Chapter 3. Volume 3. Sounds better. What do you like? Chapter 3, Volume 3? I don't know. It doesn't make any difference. Grinnan.
Take 3 action, potentially.
Yeah, that's another one. Grinnan made a mockery of the center S, didn't he? He's got no chance right now. And if anything, he's under attack from John Morgan. More than Grinnan's on the attack on De Pasqua up ahead.
Yeah, sees a blue car in a sea of red there, but he'll just get away with it this time. I've had a quick look at the points. Manning Grinnan is one of our drivers in the Super 70s Championship. 3rd place going into this round, 22 points behind 2nd place. If he can get himself into 4th or potentially 3rd position, he could move up into 2nd place in the Super 70s Championship. That's what he's fighting for.
Exactly. If they're aware of it, last race wouldn't even... some guys didn't even know they won the Super 70s Championship. Here they are through the duckbill corner. It's called the duckbill corner, or the Bico de Pato, because it's shaped like a duckbill. How about that, David?
If it was an Australian circuit, it'd probably be called Platypus Corner or something, but I don't know all of the native animals of Brazil. I just know that Manning Grinnon's got himself a good run out of Junsao. Someone right behind him there, that was Kenneth Baldwin, who did it. Of course, that means junction, because it's a junction.
Yeah,
Portuguese lessons with David and Johnny.
Yeah, oh, one driver diving into the pit
lane.
lane. Grinning. And that was a last-minute decision.
It certainly was. It looked like he saw the cars ahead that he was going to need to pass, and he's decided, you know what, we'll come into the pit lane, get our service done now, hopefully get some clean air, because we know Manning Grinnon, very, very quick, but he was struggling in that traffic, wasn't he?
Well, the funny thing is for these guys is that Stefan Ruskin is coming across the main straight. There he is in the number 25, and he's made his way past. So for Ruskin, this strategy is working out perfectly. For a driver who started in P12, a podium is definitely in play right now. I'm not sure if you'll be any close to the race lead at the moment, but if he keeps lapping away like this, 29.1 last lap round, 0.6 of a second faster than anybody else out there on the racetrack. That was the fastest lap of the race from your series champion.
Yeah, exactly. His lap time light blue on my timing screen saying he is the fastest driver out there. And look at this battle. On board John Morgan. He's got Remigio de Pasqua in front of him, then Bob Cohen. This is almost a little bit of a three-car battle, 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's a good run off the final corner.
Let's ride on board with him. Let's have a listen. Oh, goodness me. He dived into the pit lane late. And John Morgan in that Team Auto car gave us a fright in the commentary booth for sure. Late pit stop. We've seen a few drivers do that, David, just trying to gain as much slipstream as they can and minimize the time lost.
Yeah, maybe closing up, and then part of the way there thought, I'm not going to get in before turn 1, let's go to the pits. But here's the battle for the lead, because Donald Fitterer just went to the inside a little bit to defend against Andrew Fiedler in the blue car behind, and then Mark Robertson, blue and white car. This is 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Nothing to separate them. This is the battle for the lead.
Nothing to separate them means 4/10 to separate these drivers. It's nothing. Less than half a second. It's so close between the top 3. Have a look at them through Duckbill Corner right now. We're riding on board from that 101 car of Andrew Fiedler, who started the race from pole position. I saw a spinner in the background. Couldn't quite see who that was, but it was Colombe, who's definitely spun off in the middle sector. So we keep staying with these 3. Will any of them dive into the box? 1 minute 29.2 last lap round for Robertson, matching the lights of Stefan Ruskin. They have to keep an eye on Ruskin, don't they, David? Because I'm not sure if these guys have any spotters or anything like that, but I'd be keeping my eyes on him from that early pit stop.
I mean, honestly, in their position, I'm not sure there's a whole lot they can do to react to it right now. The early pit stop is definitely unconventional, but what are these guys to do? Either they pit now, or they stay out long as they can. I hope they stay out, because this is a fantastic battle, and it's for the lead. It's just entertaining to watch, and once again, Fitterer goes to driver's left just to dissuade Andrew Fiedler behind from trying to outbrake him. And look at Mark Robertson using all of the track and then some. He's going to try and grab 2nd place.
Hopefully he doesn't get a slowdown, because that was quite an optimistic drive around the outside of the Desquita del Lago. Searches for a move here at Ferradura. And this is the problem now, David. See the battling and the slicing and dicing going on. It's just going to cost them more time.
Yep, Fitterer gains some car lengths out the front there, and at the exit of turn 4 and 5, you're not going to get a slowdown out there, but what you will get is 1 off-track, 1 incident point, and there's a 17-point limit in this race, in an 18-lap race, so you can't afford to do it every lap.
Exactly, you don't want to be doing that. Oh, off the racetrack is Fiedler. He's going to lose the entire advantage across this main straight here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. 10 to go in this event as the leaders cross the line. Robertson searching for a move. He could go up the inside here, and he does. Brave from Mark Robertson. And this should be Robertson into P2, but look how strong and robust Fiddler is on the defensive. Still a face full of Pro Mazda up ahead for Robertson. The battle continues here on this second straight. Robertson, oh, they're so tight between the two. This is going to be a narrow braking zone. Who's going to end out on top on the exit?
Yeah, Fiddler with the inside, Robertson on the outside. Does he use all of the track again? This time, not quite as much, but this battling has let Donald Fitterer get away with the lead and brought that yellow car of John Unsby right back in it.
So Stefan Ruskin, as you saw at the top of the screen, just set the fastest lap of the race with a 28.9. What an immense lap time from Ruskin. These drivers now in the leading spots are settling 1 minute 30.0s. So that's the difference here as we see battling going on for P5 and P6. John Unsby as well, also in a scrap. We're watching him. But behind them, Cohen and De Pasqua are having a tussle. Unsby has joined this scrap for P2 and 3-3. Look at this. They've let Fitterer go and scream away in the lead.
Yeah, and here's Remigio, De Pasqua and Bruce Poole for 6th and 7th place. Poole is in, I'm going to call it like the snooker position here to be able to get a move done into turn 1.
Team Italian Turtles does De Pasqua race for, but will Poole from Canada, oh, he enters the pit lane. Is that Bruce Poole who entered the pits? Yes, it is. And, oh, he was very close to speeding on the entry. I think he'll be okay, though. He enters the pit lane. He's all fine. 22 seconds separates Fitterer from Ruskin. I'm pretty sure Stefan Ruskin's in the lead, and that's cemented at the moment.
Yeah, I'm seeing pit lane times entrance to exit of 24 seconds. Now, of course, the exit's further along than the entrance, so maybe the delta time is around 20 seconds. Roston, in the laps he's doing, he's absolutely within a shout of taking the lead, and definitely within a podium kind of looking area.
So David Riley here. Yep, we're riding on board with him. And he's... Oh, where is he? He's looking for a move there on Bob Kern. Couldn't find any way past there. Oh, no, that's Charles Gilly, excuse me. Bob Kern's behind him. So Gilly's in the 066 car. It says Liverpool FC on the rear end of my unrefreshed skins. So I'm glad that we've got David Riley's real skin because I'm not a fan of Liverpool.
I harbour no strong opinions either way about soccer/football teams. I do hold a strong opinion about the run he's got up the hill. Nowhere to take it, so now he has to go all the way out wide. And I think he's lost some of the momentum. Will any of these drivers come into the pits this time? 7 laps to go. It's just about time. Who was that who died?
Gilly does.
I'll see in a second. My timing screen.
Charles Gilly.
Charles Gilly in there.
Yep, so in that 066 car, other drivers also entering the pit lane as well. Your top 7 had to enter the pits, but look at the lead battle here as Unsby and Fiddler are scrapping away for the second position alongside each other, heading into Ferradura. This is going to be an optimistic opportunity for Fiddler around the outside, and rightly so. He'll have to form up and can't find his way past. They continue through the middle sector as well, so we'll keep an eye on that battle. Cohen is behind De Pasqua. Those two have been scrapping for a few laps, of course, too. Will Fitterer enter the pit lane? He's got some rapid pace, but whether or not he feeds out ahead of Ruskin, who's already made his pit stop, is another question, because Ruskin this lap has just made his way past David Riley.
Yep, he's charging up there. 7th place is Stefan Rostin, but the leading of all of the cars that have pitted. We watch your scored leader, Donald Fitterer. What does he do? He's staying out 1 more lap. There'll be 6 to go when he crosses the line now.
Into the pit lane goes the driver of Fiddler. And where will he feed out on the exit? This should be another 8-second pit stop, David. And we can confirm Ruskin is now about to pass Fiddler. And you know what? I don't want to keep talking about Ruskin too much. He is your series champion, but this is just such a brilliant strategy choice from him. He's definitely got the lead at this rate.
You have to feel like he's just toying with the competition, as qualifying as far down as he did, pitting on lap 1. I mean, it's a valid strategy if you are all the way back there, but you know, with the championship already wrapped up, and if you enjoy racing this car and this track, why wouldn't you set yourself a little challenge and have some fun?
So out on the in the exit goes Fiddler, and he's into P7 at the moment. He's about 5 seconds behind Ruskin. So between Fitterer and Ruskin, if Fitterer came in now, they would be alongside each other for the lead with 6 laps remaining. Let's have a look at, we're watching a battle here behind, but there's Fitterer on screen right now. Will he enter the pit lane? Mr. Donald Fitterer, or will he continue? Continues away. And David, I feel like he's in a good rhythm. He's in a good state of calm and peace right now. He's lapping away quite well, whereas Ruskin, look at this, he's got traffic up ahead of him.
Yeah, he's got to deal with Richard Coulomb, who hasn't pitted yet, but may very well be coming in this time. Over speed that Roastgen's got, is he going to be held up? Is Coulomb coming into the pits? Yes, he is. That unleashes your title winner to get on after some of the gap. See what he can claw out of Donald Fitterer.
Well, if you're a Stefan Ruskin fan, have a look at the bright side. You just gained a slingshot across that whole main straight and set a 1 minute 29.7, just a few hundredths of a second faster than Donald Fitterer. So that, to me, is perfect for Ruskin's chances. But whether or not Fitterer can exit the pit lane ahead of Ruskin is another question in itself. 3 drivers yet to make a pit stop in this race with 5 to go. The battle still continue between Fiddler and Morgan right now. John Morgan in the second, well, he's in the 7th position, 2/10 behind Fiddler up ahead. Don't think Morgan's going to find his way past anytime soon. So right now, David, it hasn't been of a race of attrition this time out, which has been good, but I've seen Manning Grinnan down the order as well. Remember, Manning had a chance here, and I think his pace has just gone to waste. You know, he's been involved in quite a few too many incidents and technical issues.
So here's Donald Fitterer on the lane, and we've got the track map up for you there. Words, David Haynes, the 111 car, that's Donald Fitterer, that's your leader. The number 25, that's Stefan Roastgen, and here he comes towards the line. Will he assume the race lead? I think it's looking more than likely.
Oh, this is going to be close, isn't it? Ruskin's through the center S right now. Fitterer's in the pit exit. He's going to be behind Ruskin. Ruskin's got some traffic, though, up ahead as well. Oh, they're alongside each other. Ruskin finds himself ahead, though. He's got the slipstream advantage. Fitterer now heads into the draft. That is Ruskin into P1 confirmed with an early pit stop. But will he be able to sustain his first position advantage with 4 laps to go? Will he be able to finish this season in style with 2 race wins?
Margin is 7/10 right here. If Fitterer can stay within touching distance through the twisty middle sector here, then he'll get plenty of slipstream up the hill. He'll be able to potentially stay with Stefan Roastgen, but only if he's also got the speed through the twisty bits.
Through they go in this final part of the middle sector. Oh, some scrapping going on behind. Who's that with? Looked like I saw Leeson off the racetrack and Grinnan. Those two are in P22 and P25, not on the same lap. So Grinnan, unfortunately, hasn't had the best races, like we said. He's got Mark Robertson in 3rd behind. Robertson could be finding himself on the podium for the 2nd race in succession. But the battle for P4 continues. So I think your podium is all settled. But I'm liking Fitterer's chances right now. He still remains close to Ruskin. He's just going to maintain the slipstream, doesn't he? Once he loses the draft, David, his day is done.
Yeah, exactly. But watching this battle here, 4th, 5th, and 6th, this is your best 3-car battle out there right now. Andrew Fiedler leads John Morgan, leads John Unsby. Unsby was a little bit higher up than 6th place earlier. Again, losing time through the pit stops. I don't know what it is about his in-lap or his out-lap. He's having no luck with that. But he does have 2 cars right in front of him. He can battle and try and swallow up. My goodness, that's a big crash for John Morgan. You thought maybe there was a slowdown at the exit of turn 4. Well, maybe there's a banana peel because he lost it, the rear out there, nose first into the wall. Here's our replay.
Yeah, a little bit of Mario Kart action. Here's the replay on screen from John Morgan's perspective. There's no grip there, and he just, yeah, the car unsettled, didn't it? That's quite a hefty crash, isn't it? Morgan will need no Starbucks coffee for sure after an incident like that. But I think, you know, the suspension unsettles through there. There's a lot of bumps. You definitely don't want to be going off wide. We saw a couple drivers do that, didn't we? And maintain the advantage. But you've got to do it quite abruptly. You got to send the car off the racetrack, if that makes any sense. You can't be half on, half off, because that's what happens there. You spin off, as we see Unsby making a move here on Fiedler.
And he finds just 1 car width to the inside of Fiedler on the way to turn 1. How brave can he be on the brakes? He's got a good advantage and he's clear. If he can keep his momentum through turns 1 and 2, bit deep into 1, Fiedler will get a better run out of that, have a chance to get back at him.
Unsby's driven splendidly today. He's had a good race. He started from 2nd. Fiedler's going to fight back though. He started this race from pole position. Andrew Fiedler now alongside Unsby. Nope, there's no room there. And this is the part of the racetrack I was saying. If you're going to go off, you're going to send the complete car off. You can't be half and half. Otherwise, you'll find yourself off the racetrack and into the barriers like we saw earlier. Through Ferradura they go. Perfect apexes from Fiedler. Lovely driving from the both of these guys. Just 2 different complete lines. Look how deep Unsby sent it and how much of an advantage he gained on Fiedler there.
He's clearly very quick. He's pulling some gap here. As we said, through the pit stops, just not quick there. But once he's out on circuit, once he finds some rhythm, boy is he quick. Your leader, Stefan Roestgen's on the front stretch, about to cross the stripe with the white flag in the air. 1 lap to go. Stefan Roestgen already locked the championship down in race 1 of this round. He's looking to make it a double and bring home the bragging rights as well as the trophy.
Final lap as the white flag waves. Fiedler still on the attack here on John Unsby. This is for P4. He had a peek. He had a look. He had a think about it. And he forced Unsby offline. Oh, brilliant move from Fiedler. Got into Unsby's head as Unsby mucked up the center S there, and that demotes him to P5. So keep it together, Johns, because you'll still have a top 5 spot. As now we see David Riley close to Steve Isaacs. This is a close battle here with all 3 of these drivers. Columbia's up ahead. Those are some lap cars.
Goes round, unfortunately, in that battle, just overdrives it. And he's just avoided being collected up by the likes of Charles Gilly, Bob Kern and PJ Selly. Good driving from those guys on the last lap to not cause a big incident.
And something's gone wrong for Fiedler. Fiedler's lost P4 from Unsby, so it may have happened at the Desquita del Lago possibly, but we'll keep an eye on that because Stefan Ruska now heads through the final corner for the final time this season, and he is champion. We confirmed that in race 1. He goes out in style with 2 race wins. This one was a lot tougher for. He started from 12th. Stefan Ruskin, 2 from Interlagos for season 9, week 12.
Mark Robertson and Donald Federer will cross the line to complete the podium, but it's still a battle for 4th place. John Unsby leads Andrew Fiedler. Fiedler's not going to get enough slipstream to the line. Still some other battles on your lead lap. This one right here, Bob Cohen's trying to chase down Bruce Poole. Nothing to happen there. Behind them though, Duma and Turner are going to be so close in their drag race.
So Fiedler maintains P5, as you said. That was a close drag race, wasn't it? As Colombe now crosses the line in 11th. Another little battle going on here across the line.
Bob Kern close up on Charles Gilly, but there is the stripe there. There is the finish line. It was, in the end, relatively comfortable for Charles Gilly.
Yeah, Kern wasn't even close, but it was about 1.5 tenths at the finish line. So good event so far, David, for race 2. You know, as we see a few more drivers cross the finish line. Stefan Ruskin, though, from P12. Brilliant strategy.
Yeah, indeed. He just had the pace to make whatever strategy he wanted to do work. If he could have stayed out, gone long, I'm sure he maybe still would have won, because he takes home the fastest lap of the race, and by some margin.
Karkner will come across the line in P20. And unfortunately for Stephen Karkner, well, a guy who finished in second earlier in the day ends up only in P20. Let's have a look at your final race results for race 2 for the final time this season. Bruskin comes home 2 from 2, 2 wins, and a championship trophy to his name as well. What an event from Stefan Ruskin. What a season it's been for him. That was just a brilliantly thought out strategy with a pit stop at the end of lap 1. Robertson comes home in second. 2 podiums in succession for Mark Robertson. Good consistency from the man from Team Morgan. Donald Fitterer rounds out the podium for Team Old Speed. Then it's Unsby and Fiddler who swap positions on that final lap after Fiddler possibly made a mistake. We didn't see it on screen, but made a mistake at the exit of the Desquita de Lago we're hearing, and that cost him some time. The rest of the top 10 includes Baldwin, Poole, Cohen, Duma, and Turner. We'll cycle through the order, of course, as well. Colombe ends up in the 11th position. Some close finishes there at the end, didn't we see, between Gilly and Kern? PJ Sally was also close after not setting a qualifying time in the session preceding. Karkner ended home in 20th. We spoke about him not having the best of second races. Same for Manning Grinnan from Team Old Speed, who had pace for a podium here today for sure, but just wasn't able to capitalize in these 2 races. Had technical issues involving a lot of drama. He'll be looking forward to next season after it ended just a little earlier for him this time out. Any final comments from that race, David, before we speak to a few drivers?
Was certainly a lot cleaner than race 1. The drivers adjusting to the conditions and providing us the same battling we saw, but with just a little bit less accidents. So I loved seeing that. I'm always been a fan of this series. So yeah, 2 good races and 2 championships decided.
So we will speak to Mark Robertson, who came home in the 2nd position. How about that, Mark? 2 podiums, 2 races for Team Morgan. I mean, this is going to be a brilliant way to end the season.
Yeah, it really is. It's I've had some ups and downs this season. It's good to end it on a high point with this. Racing against Stefan, if I get a second or a third, it's like a first or a second, really. So, but anyway, yeah, it was fun.
Did you see him coming through the order? Because he made a pit stop at the end of lap 1, and he seemed to catch everybody out with surprise.
He didn't. I didn't see him pass me. He must have passed me when I made my pit stop because I never saw him. He never came around me.
Yeah. Anything to summarize your season so far? How has it been over these 12 weeks? Anything to improve on coming for season 10 coming up?
Oh no! This league keeps getting better and better every season. I can't say enough about Joel, Mark, Richard, Bill Lawrence, who does a lot of work in the background. There's just a ton of people that help make this league what it is, and I can't thank them enough. It's the most enjoyable thing for me to do, really. What a great hobby.
No, we love it. We all love sim racing. We love esports. We love iRacing. We love the scene. Can I also ask you, before we let you go for the season, anybody you'd like to thank as well, apart from who you just thanked, actually, because it's been such a great campaign for you guys?
My family allows me to take the time to do this, so that's about it, really.
We love it. There's Mark Robertson from Team Morgan in that number 43 car. Thanks again, Mark. He's had a brilliant campaign, David. And for Robertson, ends up with 2 podiums, to end his season here at Interlagos. The most consistent driver apart from Ruskin. Ended up, actually, if you calculate the points, if you had to combine the races, David, Robertson would end up with second position overall for this event.
That's good. Consistency pays, and then it's also great in this season, though, that mistakes aren't always punished too hard. You get a second chance in this season. Keeps the standings close as well.
So, John Unsby is alongside David Haynes, who you just heard. John Unsby came home in the 4th position, 15 seconds from your race leader, and just claimed that 4th position on the final lap after a mistake from Fiddler at the exit of turn 4.
Yep, and John, well done, 4th place once again, but again, doesn't seem like the in-lap or the out-lap of the pit stop was your strength. It really looked like you were making your time out on circuit and losing just a little bit through the pit lane again.
Yeah, I really feel terrible. I rammed into Stephen Cochner earlier in the race. We were all running together, and Manning came up on the inside. I was looking to my mirrors to see where he was, and everybody checked up a bit, and I rammed into Steven, so I feel terrible about that. As far as the pit stops, man, I don't know. I mean, I come blasting up that pit lane and just barely get down to the pit speed limit, and I don't know, maybe my exit is a little slow, but yeah, I guess that's a real deficiency there. I did seem to be faster than just about everybody through that middle section.
And overall, your thoughts on the season, because here at RaceSpot, it's a 12-round season. We drop in for 3 of the rounds, normally the first one in the middle, and this one the end of the season. But overall, for your season, some of the races that we maybe didn't cover live, what's your feeling overall about how you did this season?
Well, this was my worst season since they started the league. I'm usually in the top 5, even top 3 in points, and I don't know where I am now, but I think I was 8th or 9th going in. But that was primarily because I got wrecked. People did to me what I did to Steven today all season long, so I had a lot of crashes.
Saving your payback for the last race of the last round, then?
No, Steven's a really good driver and very safe. I never have any trouble with him. There's a few others I wouldn't mind booting, but no, I'm just joking. This is a very clean league normally. I just got rammed in the rear a whole lot this year. I don't know why.
Well, if you had fun, then you won, I guess is one way to look at this. And would you say that you did this season?
I did what?
Had fun.
Oh, well, you know, just like in real life, it never seems fun when I'm doing it. It's only fun in retrospect. I'm too intense when I'm doing it to think I'm having fun. But yeah, I guess so.
Well, hopefully we'll see you next season. And while we've got you on the live broadcast, anyone you'd like to thank, any shout-outs, any hellos to say?
Well, you know, obviously the people who put this on, and you guys for broadcasting, and yeah, I should modify that. I guess I'm having fun. I'm just an old grouch.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having a word with us, and we'll see you next season. And I'll throw it back to you, Johnny.
So there's
Thanks,
the
guys.
brilliant John Unsby. Thanks again, John, who came home in the 4th position. I'm going to speak to Donald Fitterer, who came home and rounded out the podium there for race 2. What an event, Donald. Finally on the podium. Finally made up for race 1. And it goes to show you had some quick pace here at Interlagos today.
Yeah, I had a good time, and I just made that one little brain glitch, or I would have been second.
Yeah. But talk about your race apart from that, because I'm always questioning how a few of you drivers didn't see Ruskin coming through the field. He pitted at the end of lap 1. So he ended up climbing a lot of you just by lapping away in clean air. Were you aware of that at all?
Not until I came out of the pits and he was in front of me. I'm going, oh my gosh, he is such an excellent driver, and I think Russian in French means artificial intelligence, because he epitomizes how to race that car.
Talk about your season. It's been 12 weeks of action. Any highlights, any lowlights so far that we might have missed on the broadcast?
Well, I'd have to say the highlight was the first race here with Mark Robinson when we did that last lap together. That was some intense, excellent racing. That's why I do this league, is that kind of action right there.
Yeah, so I have to say as well, for next season, I asked this as well to Mark before. Might as well reuse the same question, recycle it. Any lessons learned, anything you're going to use for next season that you've learned you might have made mistakes on, for example, setup issues or anything else? I know it's quite early to ask you, but who knows? You might have had some ideas up your sleeve.
If we could somehow coordinate practices where we could do more training where we're side by side, I think the entire league would benefit from that. How we do that, I don't know, but that's what I'd like to try for next season.
Any person you want to thank for this season, or any people you want to thank at all?
Well, you guys for broadcasting, and obviously all the administrators that create this league and make it something that we can race in every week. It's a heck of a lot of work, and I really appreciate it. You all have a great time.
Thanks. That's Donald Federer, who came home on the podium for race 2 in P3. Had a brilliant race so far. So, David, we finished our season for 60 Plus Racing Adventures here, and it is our third broadcasted race of the season, but they've had 12 brilliant tracks and events of racing action. Any final comments from this event today as well? Strategy came into play, but we saw some brilliant on-track action, of course, too. It was quite an entertaining event.
Yeah, it's typical of what we see of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Always some pretty fair racing, some pretty close racing. And they're a close group of guys as well, and it just goes to show that when it comes to sim racing, it's passion and enthusiasm that matters more than youth. The experience and passion really shows through in this league, and that's what I love about it. That's what the drivers love about it, and that's what makes it worth tuning into.
So that is it for Season 9, Week 12 of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Hope you enjoyed this broadcast. The next race of 60 Plus Racing Adventures, well, we're not sure at the moment, so stay tuned on all the social media platforms or the iRacing forums as well, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google Plus. Does that exist anymore? I don't know. Discord as well, of course, as well. You can join the 60 Plus Racing Adventures Discord page. But most of all, any broadcasted races, of course, as well. Stay tuned on RaceSpot.tv for more information, or RaceSpot social media channels as well. Thanks to all you viewers for joining us, not just for today's broadcast, but for the season itself here. I'm Jonathan Simon alongside David Haynes. It was Paul Smith in production. Have to say thanks, of course, as well to Istvan Ballo, Andreas Werner, Simon Grossman, and Nick Thiessen for all their hard work behind the scenes in production, because this, for the final time for Season 9, has been a RaceSpotTV presentation. As we say so long from Interlagos and the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, as we crown Stefan Ruskin champion for Season 9.